Welcome back to day 2 of Encore. We will be completing our losers bracket run here with match 1, where Razii, Knockout Pro, jdon, and bozbez will all be competing. I think those are the correct pronunciations, right?
Sounds about right
Sounds
to
about
me.
correct to me. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, no worse than your actual legitimate attempts at saying some of the players' names. So,
Yeah, it's not my strength. It is not my strength at all. But no, we will be jumping in to match 1. Like I mentioned earlier, if you want to go see match 2, you can head over to OC stream. But if, like me, you don't really want to listen to OC, I will be chipping in with the lads casting to let you know how everyone is doing with absolutely no Acros bias at all. So, Noah, with the match we've got coming up, who do you think is going to make it out alive on this one?
I mean, bozbez feels like possibly a safe pick. I mean, hard to say. I have to be honest. I'm not as sure how Razii and jdon have been performing so far across Encore. But I mean, bozbez not only has the advantage of having played a lot of these tracks the first time around that they were actually in BITM events, but also is just when he sets his mind to it, a very good player. And I think he's in a position where he'll be looking to continue to make a deep run. I'm a little bit nervous for kopro coming out of our other matches. I kind of said before we threw to the break, I think he had a very good performance on Capital, but really struggled on some of the other matches. And as you get further in the tournament, one good map is not going to be enough to carry you past this competition.
Yep, you really do have to be consistent across the board. Yatta, so we're seeing bozbez in lower bracket. Obviously, we've seen him in here for a while now. Do you think the switch to controller is what's causing these issues, or has the level of Encore been trickier to keep track with?
I think it's a little bit of a mixture of both. I think we did see a little bit of the inconsistent Boz last week as well when he first switched over for tournament play.
Sorry,
to
I just want to... Nobody had told me Boz has switched to controller. What?
Yeah, Boz has switched to controller, Noah. I don't know what else there is to say.
Okay, fair enough.
No, he switched to controller and he has been performing at a high level, but probably not at the same level that you would expect a Boz playing on the mouse to do. And obviously that makes sense. It's his second tournament playing like this, but he can still really mix it up there if he gets if he starts playing well, if he gets that consistency that he's sort of known for. And I would still expect him to go through in this match. I do think there is a small chance that he doesn't if he gets into his own head. We've seen a little bit of that over, for example, seeding last week in BIPC and a little bit in seeding as well in here. So yeah, it'll be good to see. I think he's probably still a favourite to go through, but Razii and jdon have been performing very well in this tournament, especially jdon compared to last week, because obviously he played in BIPC 3. He played well. He's a relatively new player compared to some of the guys in the tournament, and he impressed quite a lot of people. But I think he's been performing even better this week than he did last week, which is really something to see.
Yeah, that sort of second week of this event has been really interesting. I spoke briefly with Wizzy about that yesterday, and what he said from his perspective is it gave him a chance to sort of take a little bit of the early part of this week off when it comes to practicing, because he had a little bit of that inertia coming through from BIPC. And I guess for a player like jdon, like you mentioned, slightly newer to the top level of BITM, really will reward them for really trying on these maps over the course of 2 weeks. It'll be interesting to see what he can take away. On the Boz controller switch, I did speak to Epos via Twitch chat yesterday, and Epos's review was that Boz is an 8 out of 10, but on controller he's currently a 6.5 out of 10. Don't know what his looks has to do with it, but that is an interesting take there from Epos. So we'll see if that pans out. No, I don't know why you're laughing. Anyway, I'm going to hand over to you two before I make any more problems, and I do believe we're probably going to have to go to the map video slightly soon.
Hey, in 5 seconds, we're going to the map video. Thomas, get out of here. We're starting things off on Menace.
And on we go to the first round of Menace. There's been actually quite a lot of people clipping the inside of that hole at the start, and Razii does fall for that. It's been surprising actually how many people have done that, even at the top level over the last couple of weeks. But going into the drift section here, no one going inside pole, as you'd probably expect. There have been a few people, but no one in this match. Taking it onto the plastic section, Razzie still quite far behind. Boz and kopro fighting out up in front. A little bit of a way back to jdon, just a 0.3. Probably a little bit too much unless there's a mistake at the end, but Boz and kopro going into the second half of this map now, neck and neck.
Yeah, and kopro really struggled on Menace in our last match. I believe he came 4th out of all 4 rounds. A lot of crashes going on, and this time around he's looking a lot better, fending off bozbez at the moment up front. And Boz is sitting just a little ways behind as we round this final corner. You need to keep it out of the wall. Kopro's a little bit slower, but he does still manage to cross the line in first place. Boz in second. That controller not holding him back. jdon and Razzie a little further down the field, and that is a great start to kopro because, again, really struggled on this map in the last match he had. I genuinely, where was this performance at that time?
Well, this is what I was saying before, whether it's a map issue or whether it's a bit of a mental issue. I mean, he's come through that game now, and that must have been a massive sigh of relief from where he was a few rounds before the ending, in dead last place and looking, honestly, out of it. But then he came through with the map, and maybe that's given him the confidence to, you know, not make these mistakes, probably these silly mistakes in his opinion that he was making before, and just to play a little bit more consistency, because we even saw in the last match he had the pace on the maps. It was just the mistakes that were holding him back.
Yeah, and he's looking fantastic. Kopro, or the knockout professional, as Twitch chat is busy spamming us with at the moment. Having a great start to round 2 as well. Looking very clean with it so far on Menace. This time around, Razzie is up within touching distance, and Boz is sitting in 3rd at the moment. jdon is down in 4th, but he is much closer this time around. A better round from everyone involved as we head around this final corner. Does Razzie have the distance to try and snipe Kopro? He goes low, and it was 6 thousandths as Razzie did his best, but kopro 2-round wins from 2.
Yeah, and he's looking a lot better in this match, as we mentioned, but I'll be honest, this start does make me a little worried for jdon. He does look like he's a little bit, maybe it's just on this map, but a little bit off the pace. And he did look to be consistent last week, and he is a relatively fast driver, but if it keeps up like this, we could see him start to slip away a little bit.
Yeah. I have to say, I'm still this news that Boz has swapped back to a controller is blowing my mind. As a listener to the Keeping Track podcast, an excellent Trackmania community podcast, it has to be said, there was the episode where Boz talked a lot about why he used mouse, and it was, I think, issues with his wrist previously, that he just was struggling to hold the controllers for long periods of time. So the fact that he's making the effort to swap back to controllers is genuinely very interesting to me, and the fact that he's now playing his second tournament with it within the space of a couple of weeks as well, and must have been practicing with it at the same time. Hopefully none of those issues come back, although that's a different type of issue. The fact that he's clipped on the inside on the way around these corners. kopro out in front again. We saw Razzie look for the snipe last time around. I think he's even a little bit closer this time. He might try for it again, but this time kopro stays lower, aware of the risk, doesn't give Razzie any space to try and catch him, and holds on for a 3rd round win.
Yeah, and again, jdon coming in that last place. It's a little bit, you know, it's just a little bit worrying, especially for the BITM fans. And you've mentioned about Boz switching off the mouse onto the controller. I'm just wondering what Twitch chat's going to spam now for Boz now that he's not using the mouse.
Yeah, well, you've challenged them, and I'm sure by the end of stream today, someone will have cooked something, but Boz will full crash early in the round this time around, and that's looking like a 4th place in this one, struggling to pick up the points so far. But kopro having a great time with it. jdon having a much better round to kick things off here, no mistakes early on. But it is kopro who's just behind him, and if jdon does fall victim once again to one of those mistakes, if he clips somewhere, if he loses his speed, it'll be kopro looking for 4 rounds from 4 on Menace, which is wild considering how this map went last time.
Yeah, and Razzie's still in contention with 2nd place, although he does look like I'm not sure if he dropped the gear or if he just, yeah, it looks like he dropped the gear. And now kopro is right on the tail of jdon. Who's going to get a better ending line here? Who's going to go more inside? kopro goes inside, he clips a little bit, but not enough. And jdon manages to hold on to 1st place. And that's a much better round from him. It's much needed, to be honest, with how the first few have gone.
Yeah, and I mean, this early in the match as well, you can Yeah, very, very good times. And this early on in the match as well, you can see how big one win is, especially when kopro has been sucking all the air out of the room for everyone else. 36 points from 40. And that means one round win for jdon is enough to catapult him back up into second place and all sins forgotten. Don't worry about how the first 3 rounds went. You're second place heading to the second map, and that feels great.
Yeah, there was a big clip at the start from Boz, which really just cost him that round completely. And yeah, he clipped before as well when he was in first place. So again, it's just trying to, you know, make sure you don't make any of those mistakes. Make sure you're keeping it consistent. As you said before, consistency is still key, even if you do get rewarded for pace in first place.
Yeah, there's a lower limit on how inconsistent you can be looking for that pace and managing to get it, and we've definitely seen over the last couple of matches some experimental work by a couple of players as they look to explore exactly how inconsistent they can be. And honestly, I think kopro found the lower limit in that last match. You can get away with 3 dodgy maps and 1 very good map, and well, he seems to have swapped around what map it was this time around, looking fantastic on Menace. We head then to Candy Crush, and can any of the other players start to challenge kopro as we head into our second?
Come and set me free. Come and set me free.
And now, as we move on to our first round of Candy Crush by Mime, I wonder if there might be a update from the other round. Is that potentially the case?
Yeah, them fields do be reporting. We've got a bit of a struggle by our boy Akros in this one. He has been slightly flattered by errors by other players as well at the moment. Leading away is Jan with 28 points. Thomas, Jean, and Coco W have got 25 and 24 apiece, and Akros is currently in last place with 15. And New Alaic, I've got a slight gripe here. You are not a listener of the Keeping Track podcast. You are a co-host.
All right, Thomas, we got our 1 contractually obligated mention in already. We don't need to bring it back around as hey, we're back into our rounds here as well, and kopro is continuing to look strong here in this lower bracket match. Boz is once again close behind him. jdon is sitting in 3rd, and Razii unfortunately sitting a little ways back from the 3 of them at the moment. But this is a very tight battle up at the front. Boz with more speed is going to race away from kopro, and it'll be a distance between them by the time they hit that finish line. Solid times all around. A 56.3 from Boz is looking fairly quick on this map. It's only 3/10 off current world record, and for rounds with a new controller, that's feeling pretty good.
Yes, it will be. And speaking of shout-outs, as you mentioned before, we still do have the donations open for this tournament, where the top 4 will share in the prizes that are added to that. I believe the command is !donate, but I could be wrong on that, and I will hope that production will tell me off if I am.
Nope, he's right. Myself and Thomas have both tested it for you, Yada, and it is that.
Okay, as we move now into the second round.
kopro in 4th. We have not seen an awful lot of this so far in this match. At worst, the second place so far. And, well, he's looking for mistakes in front of him, or maybe just to push a little bit harder. He's already gaining on jdon. He's still just behind the back wheels of Razii, and Boz is not that far up the road either. Onto the plastic we go. This has caused issues for some of the players in the past, just finding the best line, wheeling the car on through. And actually, kopro seems to have dropped a little ways back from Boz and Razii, but Razii has pace. He has speed. He will not catch bozbez at the line. 12,000 is how bozbez manages to keep the nose in front.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, kopro was in last place, but he did manage to tech diff jdon there. He took so much speed into that plastic section.
Yeah, we gotta clarify, the donate link is incorrect. That is left over from a previous event. It is ! Prize pool. That is, hey, sorry guys, somebody needs to remove the ! Donate link from Nightbot. It's probably fine.
Yeah, it's all good. It'll make its way to the. Well, I'm not going to say that actually. Moving on.
That's
to
absolutely not true. Do not use the ! Donate link. That was a full crash. kopro having a bit of a rougher time of it on Candy Crush than he had on Menace.
Yep, and no one making any mistakes on this outside dirt. We've seen a few mistakes there, and the section to push is this drift section on the uphill on the sausage. And I think Boz and Razii are dead even coming out of that. Who'll get a better plastic? It looks like Boz manages to just overtake Razii. And will he manage to hold on? Will he go for a more inside line at the end? He does manage to hold on. And again, that's another quick time from Boz in rounds. And he has looked a lot more consistent on this map.
I will say, I mean, he's having that thing that occasionally happens where, yeah, great time so far from Boz, but he's doing just enough to beat out what his opponents drive every time. I mean, there's been a player within a tenth basically every single time, and sometimes the other player is also driving a low 56.4 or even a high 56.3, and Boz just is ahead every single time. He's driven times that would have been beaten in other rounds, in some of these rounds, but that doesn't matter, right? I mean, he's doing enough to get out on top of all of these rounds, and I love to see that personally.
Yeah, and it really depends with some of these players, whether they're playing hood on, hood off, whether they're flicking the hood on to see how much of a gap they have, because you can be beating people by these thousandths or tenths of seconds or whatever, but you're doing that because you're pushing, because you know that it's close and that you do need to risk, or sometimes that you don't need to risk. If someone's 0.2 ahead of you, you need to risk every single corner massively if you have a chance of catching them. But speaking of, there was a mistake earlier from kopro, which he was dead even with Boz, and that's another round where it could have been right up to the line, but Boz manages to take the victory, and I think that is 40 points for him this map, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so. Even better than kopro's performance on the first map. You can see Boz has now overtaken kopro, who had a fairly horrible time of it on this map. I mean, full reversal from map 1 in terms of how things went for kopro, and to a degree how they went for bozbez as well this time around. And that was map 2. I mean, Yada, we were talking about it in our last match where we were watching kopro. He kind of got through off the back of being very, very good on map 2. Not looking like the case this time around. He's going to have to get a lot more work done on the next 2 maps. I mean, we're heading then to Capital as map 3. And I think kopro needs a big performance here. He needs to try and separate himself from the field on this track.
Yep, and this is his track. This is his 40 points track from the previous map. And the fact that there was another track where he did perform so well is encouraging for him. If he can keep up the sort of performance he had last time, who knows? Maybe he'll be far out of reach of 3rd place, because realistically, in the lower bracket, top 2 is all that matter, especially at this stage of the tournament.
And there is starting to be a little bit of a division between our players. 57 points for bozbez, 52 for kopro, 38 for Razii, and 37 for jdon then, as we are starting to get a little bit of a division as we get ready to head over to Capital.
All right, moving into the first round of Capital. Let's see if we've got an update from the other lower bracket.
Yeah, cheers, main cast. TJ, as I'm going to call him now, is on 54 points. Jan and Cacao on 50, and Akros having a good view of the battle up ahead with 30 points. Not much difference from the map before, other than Akros continuing to fall back from the rest.
I think it is probably clever of our Welshman to stop trying to pronounce Thomas Jean and just going with TJ instead, because I think we were getting a lot of Thomas Jeans in there. But hey, we're live onto Capital for round 1 of this lower bracket match. I mean, this is it, the last stop before our final bracket as well. Fighting to stay in the running at the moment, and this is a fight. 4 cars within a couple of tenths of each other out on track at the moment. The one thing that kopro really impressed us with on this track in our last match was his end. He was so quick around this final corner, and he was so low and to the right, and he's just behind Boz at the moment. He'll look for the snipe, but he will not find it, as Boz was matching him bar for bar around that final corner.
It looked like there was only one car going around the corner there, to be honest. It was that close, and it took such similar lines. Boz did clip the ending, but he just managed to cross the finish line before doing so. So yeah, managed to hold on. All right,
I mean, that's exactly what we were seeing from kopro in the last match as well, right? Was that he was clipping the ending, but that was just because he was taking as much as possible out of that finish.
Yep, and there's a thin line there between taking it as low as possible and taking the wall straight in your face. So
So the thin line, I had a principal in high school, and his favorite saying was, "There's a thin line between pride and arrogance," and I've just been dragged forcefully back to being 17 and sitting in an assembly hearing that.
oh, well, let's see if any of them do cross that line between pride and arrogance and do end up hitting the wall. I think that does fit, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, exactly. As Kopro is once again sitting in second place. This time around, though, it is Razii who's in front. And, well, he wasn't for long, as Kopro has just made his way past him through driving alone. No mistakes from Razii, but Kopro is looking to hold on for first. Although Razii, I think, has a little bit more speed, and he might win. He will win. He's first to the line, and unusual for us to see Kopro beating around that final corner, but Razii just nailed it.
Yeah, but he's still getting those points for those 6 points for second place, and there is a big gap between second and third. I say this every cast, but in a lower bracket round like this, it really is the battle between second and third that is the key one. First and second is very much of a muchness. Obviously, you want to qualify first, both for bragging rights and just so it's less stressful when you actually do get to that finalist. But if first and second are that far away from third, it really does become a little bit elementary who goes through.
Absolutely. As at the moment it is bozbez who is continuing to lead the way despite not setting the world alight maybe just yet on Captal. Maybe not really setting the world alight on any of these tracks. He's been consistently kind of second, couple of firsts, and then a couple of thirds as well. But that's enough to just keep himself out in front at the moment. This time around, nobody really pulling away in this round. Kopro is leading the way from Razii, from jdon, from Boz, who's dropped a little ways back from the other cars at this point. But it is anyone's game between these top three at the moment. As we round the final corner, Kopro continues to lead. He'll touch. It's Razii's race to lose. It's jdon in second, and Boz will come home in third. Razii pinballed off the line, but got across it first.
Yeah, and that is how close this match is when you've got all four of them being that close. Boz a little bit off, but if you touch even slightly on that finish, that's it. You've gone from first to fourth, and Kopro showed us that very accurately in the last round, I think.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about how Kopro might need to make his mark on this match, on this track in particular, that he might need to start to try and pull away. He's kind of done the opposite of that, to be honest with you. Razii winning that round is now back within 6 points of Kopro. jdon with a big round here as well could potentially start to pull things back, and jdon is looking to have a big round here.
Yeah, and I do think he needs one. He's 11 points adrift at the bottom, and Boz is a little bit... He's only 8 points away at the top, but jdon's been very much the consistency player here. He's not been, I would say, with the same speed as the rest of them. Although this round he is out in front. He's denying me a little bit in that, but it's going to come right down to the outside line at the end here between him and Razii. Razii doesn't actually take the outside line, which opens the door for Kopro here, and he just manages to snipe him on the line. That was a great outside from Kopro, but Razii, he just didn't have the correct lineup for the end and had to go 2 inside.
Yeah, but the big story there is definitely jdon picking up the first place, and while he was starting maybe to fall a little ways down the leaderboard, 10 points is 10 points, and that is a huge amount of what these players need to get towards finalist. What is 1/12 in percentage? 8%? 8.5%? Something like that.
Around
Listen,
that.
I don't know.
Good enough.
It's around that. Yeah, good enough. jdon got 8.5%-ish or something of the points he needs overall there. But the important thing is he's back within 5 points of Razii. 60 points for jdon at the moment then. 65 for Razii. 73 for Kopro. And bozbez on 78.
And now we're moving on to Ledior. This is our first time to this track in this match. Obviously, we saw how Kopro performed on it in the most recent match. However, this does look to be a different Kopro, to be totally honest. So we can't really take too much from that.
Yeah, has looked strong on maps he didn't look strong on in the past, has looked weaker on maps that he dominated on in the last match, but with all that said, still sitting in second place as we get ready to head to our final map of the pack, our final map to be seen of the match before we start it all again. We're getting ready to load on into Ledior. It's going to be interesting to see if Kopro can keep the pace up here. Can bozbez start to pull away from everyone else, or is it time for Razii and jdon to pull on through?
Stop the press, Noah. We've had a raid. Tarpaul, thank you very much for the raiding party of 102. Seemingly coming in with Oibrev's cheeky comp in it. So that's good fun. I do have a live report from match number 2, or at least the other match. I can't remember which one it is. Jan has been able to pull out a bit of a lead, winning, getting 30 points in that previous map. So he's now on 80. Thomas Jean, screw you, no, is on 75. Cacao is on 69, and Akros has gone from fighting shadows to fighting ghosts on 52 points because he enabled ghosts and hasn't been able to turn them back off.
Well, that's a disaster. Not something you want to hear has happened to someone mid-competition, but we are live here on Ledior in our match, and kopro is having a good time of it. Out front at the moment, Boz in second, well, kind of in second. Him and Razii wheel to wheel with each other at the moment, taking different lines around that section. Struggle to say it's worked out better for either of them, but Boz is the player coming out on top at the moment. Razii with more speed, heading towards the line. It was not enough. kopro held on, and bozbez held on to his second place.
Yeah, that was a really nice line from Boz. As you mentioned, Razii took more speed, but Boz tried to go as inside as was physically possible on that finish, and he took just a good enough line to hold off Razii. So, well played to him.
Yeah, feeling good about that one, and I no longer know what to do about kopro. I mean, obviously he was having struggles in the last match and the mental was gone a little bit, but generally speaking, he's pulling out performances on all of these tracks that were nowhere to be seen and not even really hinted at in the last match.
No, and I think we went into that last match, didn't we, saying how inconsistent all these players were going to be, and it came to fruition. And kopro's not looked like he was part of that match, does he, really?
Yeah, like, oh, well, there's a clip, so I guess some of it is still present, but definitely a very different performance overall from kopro, although that is shades of what happened in the last match. Door open then for jdon to pick up again, another round win, and he needs to start racking those up. Razii in second, looking to deny. He's going to land a little bit further to the left, maybe a little bit quicker, heading around this final corner, but jdon far enough in front that Razii can't get anything done. bozbez settling in behind the two of them comfortably, and then kopro taking fourth place.
Yeah, this match is very topsy-turvy. The third and fourth place there, getting second and first. I don't know why I said it that way, but they're really in with the shout here. There's 2 points between first and second, 11 points to third, but the way that people have been trading places, you can't really predict anything. So, you know, who's to say even jdon can't come back and qualify from this? And I thought that he'd crash it. I thought that after I said that he'd crash, but no, that was Razii. jdon is still actually in first place on this map, so...
Yeah, I mean, well, there goes kopro. So it's jdon and bozbez up at the front for the time being. Well, there goes jdon. It's bozbez up at the front for the time being. You'll note I added just to make sure that we're covered, whatever happens here. As bozbez is pretty far out in front at the moment, although kopro only 3 tenths behind. jdon's still in third. Razii's only a couple of tenths behind him, so we'll keep an eye on that battle at the back as well. But for now, bozbez just trying to get things done, sort things out, finish ahead of kopro, take the 10 points home on crush dreams. I think in general kopro's fully in the wall. He's gone. He's fully gone. He's in the mud. bozbez will crash. bozbez crashes the line. Razii wins the round. bozbez is not giving up. He will not respawn. He's refusing to respawn. jdon takes second. kopro takes third. And bozbez will trial his way to the finish line, crawling across to at least lock in 3 points.
Oh, that is shocking. I don't really know what I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. That was something.
It was filth. That was very funny though. I appreciate the fact Boz just chose not to respawn and was like, no, I can make it from here. It's very entertaining to me.
I think he was watching Zephyr Chris from last week, if I'm totally honest. There was a similar incident, shall we say.
An homage, if you will. Hey, this is a much better round to start things off. All 4 drivers are still out on track. jdon has dropped back into 4th place, and I think you'd say jdon the big winner from that last round in some ways to me. I know Razii won the round, but jdon is trying to hang on at the back at the moment, and that was looking like a round where he was going to get 4th, and instead got a 2nd place. This time around, he is in 4th. bozbez leads the way. kopro and Razii not making it easy for him, sitting on his back wheels, and he'll feel their breath on the back of the neck at the moment as they are all battling for it. They were all battling for it. Razii will crash on out. jdon up into 3rd. kopro and balls around the final corner, wheel to wheel. Who's first? bozbez across the line, and then kopro in 2nd by 100th of a second.
Wow. I think there's some decent times as well. That's That's actually really good mental fortitude there from Boz. I think it has to be said. After making a mistake, losing that first place, going down to fourth, and then still risking that finish enough to take just a 0.01. That's incredible. That's really cool to see.
Yeah, and that is bozbez then up over 100 points, the first player in the lobby to do so. He hits 101. And as we know, of course, that does mean, Yatta, that he is 2 first places away from picking up finalist mode himself. Will he get it done on Menace? I mean, kopro looked very good on this map last time around when we visited here, but he looked very bad on it in our last match. And so honestly, I'm kind of like 50-50. Best 2 out of 3. Which kopro are we getting?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Based on what Boz has said in chat, I'm not entirely sure whether he's the most confident for this after the first run round. But you know, I mean, you can't write Boz off ever, really. But especially when he's looked so good.
Boz. Maybe we can write him off.
I mean, do you want to write him off, Nua? I'll take that bet.
No, I'm
No,
alright.
I didn't think so, Nua. I didn't think so.
Alright, well, Yatta, we'll get ready then. We head back to Menace for a second time.
See what I mean? Okay, so we're now into the first round of Menace. Do we have any updates from the other game?
Yeah, thanks for throwing. We've got Jam on 110 points, Cacao on 97, and TJ, my man, has gone from leading at the halfway stage on 54 points to being in third with 87, so has really fallen back. Acro's bringing up the rear with a 74, but I did see Jan type vote skip at the beginning of the warm-up on this map, so I'm not sure how much he feels about Menace.
Well, speaking of the thanks to throwing, we've had a couple of issues at the back of this game with both Razii and jdon making a mistake. I think Jadon's got a little bit more speed, though, coming into Razii. He might be able to take third place. But up front, we have Boz versus kopro for that first place, the 2 leaders of the race. It looks like kopro's got a little bit more speed. Who's going to take it more outside? Boz takes a little bit more speed. Will he be able to take it inside? He does. He's got more speed than kopro going into this finish, and he snipes him on the line.
Yeah, I mean, just all around stellar finish there from bozbez. kopro had managed to eke out the advantage right up until that final corner where bozbez went as wide as he could, and he picks up the first place. Thomas mentioned over in that other match of vote skip coming through, a couple of jokes from the players. I mean, in this match, bozbez definitely kind of similar sentiment, being like, can we skip this one? I don't know if he's feeling that anymore. That was a great round from Boz, and even if he gets, 3 fourth places from here on out on this track, he still hits finalist. He's done the work he needs to do on this map, and he will get a finalist. I think pretty much guaranteed a shot at making it out a finalist as well now as a result.
And you've got to remember, the first time round on the second map, 40 points for bozbez. So that's what we'll be going into after this. So, as you've said, a lot of the work does seem to be done for him. But it's not over yet. He still might be able to close it out on this map, or get into finalist at least coming off this round. It's dead even between him and kopro, but he does look to have a little bit more speed coming onto the grass section. Just taking it very inside. He's
looking good. Razii had clipped behind. bozbez looking again for the ending as he had last time around. Once again, he looks a little bit higher on that wall than kopro. kopro goes early. He's well in front of bozbez, and there won't be enough speed from Boz to catch back up as kopro just made the break for the line.
Yes, and the gap between second and third.
Sorry. There's an ARG in chat from Boz.
There's 2 ARGs in chat.
Yeah, very entertaining. Hey, still a great round from Boz, who now sits on 117. kopro has 2 rounds left on Menace. I'll be honest with you, Yatta. I think kopro needs to win the next 2 rounds on Menace, or he doesn't make it out of this match.
Wow, that's a call, especially with the gap between second and third increasing the way that it has been. There's nearly 20 points now between them.
I'm still making that call.
You're making that call. That's brave. That's brave. I don't have a equally, Controversial call.
Yeah. Well, this time around, Razii leading the way has cleaned things up from the previous rounds. Bozbez sits in second. Well, Razii has dirtied things back up from where they were cleanly. Boz, meanwhile, will put his car into a wall as well. Kopro out in front now has the chance to take a needed win on Menace on round 3. He's well out in front. He can play things safe at the end here. Razii is trying to fight off jdon, but jdon is just a little bit quicker. He risks more. Speed at the line is Razii's advantage, though, and he will still take second place despite a late push from jdon. That's 1 of 2 needed for Kopro to stay alive in this tournament.
Yes, and that's a double finalist mode here. 19 points down to third place, so they've got a few attempts at this. Although only one can qualify each round, so we will see. That's a mistake. Who's that by out? That's by jdon, not one of the 2 finalists. So it's up to Razii here to play spoiler. He's got off to a decent start, but there's been a bit too many mistakes from him over the course of the map. But coming into the drift section, all taking it fairly well, taking quite a lot of speed. Who'll take this drift inside? Boz made a mistake here, which is actually going to put him into 4th place. 0.5 down, and he makes another mistake. So he's out of this round. Coming into the uphill dirt section here, we've got Razii behind Kopro. He's got a bit of a lead, a 0.3.
And this is looking good for Kopro to lock things in. Reaches finalist, may just head straight on out of here. Razii just behind, and I think at this point, unless there's a mistake from Kopro around these last 2 corners, he should be safe. There's the mistake. He's made one, and we'll get to find out if I was right, because Razii is clear to the finish line. Kopro nowhere to be seen. jdon in second, Boz in third, and that is your 3rd and 4th place players, the non-finalists, moving on up in the world.
And that is probably the worst possible result for both Boz and Kopro. Because they've let Razii in with a chance. He's only 1 win away from finalist himself. And jdon, funnily enough, is only 2. So the way the points have worked out is actually quite good for our 3rd and 4th places here. And I'll be totally honest here, Nua. I am no offense to any of the players. I'm very excited that Kopro didn't win this because I want to see what happens with your prediction.
I know. I was worried that it was going to be unfalsifiable when Kopro won that round, that we'd never get to see whether or not I'd been right. But we get ready then. It's going to head back to Candy Crush, the mime map. And look, I mean, in neither of the matches we've seen so far, while Kopro's performance has been up and down on a lot of the maps, I don't feel like Candy Crush has been particularly comfortable for him either time. And with 3 other players in this match, 1 of whom's already on finals, 2 of whom are well within striking distance of that now, I'm nervous, man.
I'm excited. Boz was so dominant on this the first time round. He'd probably expect himself to go through
yes,
on the first round of this. Maybe second if he had to, but I think he will, if he doesn't go through the first round, I'd love to see what that's going to do, because, it suddenly starts getting very nervous.
Yeah, we're heading into the map video. We're going to get ready for it.
Come and set me free. Come and set me free.
Welcome back to Candy Crush. We're going to give 10 seconds to our reporter in the field. Thomas, go.
In finalist mode, Jan and Coco, name as yet unpronounceable. TJ is on 114, Akros in 97, and they are just in the middle of their round. And as it stands, TJ and Akros are in the lead, so we may be looking at a triple finalist.
Excellent. Thank you, Thomas. That was wonderful. And it turns out putting him under pressure was all we needed to get him to pronounce Coco's name correctly. Well, there's a crash early on. It is jdon who'll be heading to the back of the pack, and our 2 current finalists are out in the lead. Kopro cleaning things up on Candy Crush, but he still has a tall task ahead of him to try and beat bozbez, but he won't if bozbez beats himself. And my claim, looking in grave danger right now, Yada. Kopro is clear by half a second.
And will he take it into the finish? I'm sure at this point it'd be very unlikely for him to make any mistakes coming into this. It's not the hardest finish in the map pack, and Kopro will go through, making an absolute fool of Nualeik.
Hey, won't be the first time, won't be the last. That is impressive from Kopro. I mean, ultimately this is it. It only ever takes 1 round once you hit finalist, where if we're being honest, everyone else crashed, and he just didn't. That's what it takes, and Kopro will head on through from Candy Crush. bozbez remains on finalist mode, and frankly, I kind of back bozbez to just clean it up here and move on through, deny any chance of Razii and jdon of moving on.
If you're back in bozbez, I feel very sorry for the lad. That being said, he is out to a bit of a lead. And the way that jdon's been playing and Razii, it's... will it be enough? Razii, unfortunately for him, is not in finalist, and he's relying at the moment on jdon to pass bozbez, who has looked very good, as we mentioned before, on this map, apart from, funnily enough, the last round. jdon's got more speed, though. Will he be able to take it a little bit more inside? Will he be able to... Oh, he clipped. And that should be that for both bozbez and the rest of the players in this match. And it looks like it will be. Congratulations to both Boz and, of course, to kopro for going through. And this is where we say goodbye to both Razii and jdon.
Yeah, tough for them. I mean, at least one of... did both of them? Both of them have just come down from the upper bracket,
They
correct?
have indeed, yes.
Which, I mean, hey, sometimes it be like that. You fall from the upper bracket and the slide continues on through the lower bracket. At this point, kopro and bozbez, experienced lower bracket warriors. They have battled their way through entirely, all the way from many rounds ago. I mean, it's been a few for both of them at this point that they've been sitting in this lower bracket. And with that, both of them will make it all the way through into a top 8 in Encore.
Yep, and I wonder if we can get a little bit of an update here from Thomas, see how it's getting on in the other match. There was a potential triple finalist situation. How are we getting on?
Unfortunately, triple finalists did not come into fruition. Much to my disappointment, Kako has made it through, so I will have to continue to stumble on that name for the rest of the day. Jan also made it through, so we'll be saying goodbye to TJ and goodbye to fellow countryman Akros. That wipes out the Welsh contingent. We were going good heading into today, but unfortunately, that will be all the Dragon has to say.
Yeah, and we've said goodbye to the Irish contingent as well. So just the English left.
Yeah.
Well, at what point do we just turn off the BITM stream then? Well, not for a while yet. Hey, we love and support all of our European brethren in this competition, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of the day plays on out. Unfortunately, I won't be here to cast it, but a lot of very good players remaining in the competition, and a lot of very good competition left to happen.
Yeah, I believe I've been given a statement, actually. It says, Nua is an ass, and we won't be working with him again. That's a throwback to...
That is a throwback, yeah. That's a few years old now.
Yes, and would you know it? TI's currently going on. You wouldn't know, there's been no advertising. Anyway, so yes, we will be heading in to the next stage of matches. It'll be, I believe, the upper bracket final. Yep, that is indeed. We got Max Track, Binks, Miquatro, and Wizzy. So, Noah, before we say goodbye to you with light hearts and good memories, why don't you give us a prediction for who's going to be going through from the upper bracket final and who will have to go into the lower bracket once more to try and fight their way to the grand final?
I am a believer in Wizzy and Miquatro.
Do we have to write them apology letters now, or do we have to wait for them to go down to the lowest first?
I mean, you know, I'm well aware that Binks is in this match, but I want to believe.
Yeah, I believe Wizzy said something along the lines of he's worried about Binks because it felt like Binks was fast learning the entire competition. So he wonders how he's going to end up at the end.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. I mean, that happens with a lot of these Grand League level players as they enter these competitions and you're like, oh, maybe they're beatable. And then by the end of the weekend, you're like, why did we ever consider that was a possibility? Yes, it's a worry. I rate Wizzy and Miquatro. They're both excellent players. I mean, Max Track is fantastic as well. Binks is still kind of a question mark, but I think definitely the player to beat in that match. But I back Wizzy and Miquatro.
Yep, he is coming off a win in BIPC, so let's see if he can put it through. Yatta, who are you thinking? Are you going to pick different options to Noah, or are we probably on the same page on this one?
I'm going to say I think Wizzy's going to win the match. That's what I'm going to say. I will make a firm stand on that. I did watch Binks yesterday, and I actually said the exact same thing. I think it looked like Binks was, I'm not going to say untrained, but it looks like he was improving as the match and as the tournament was going to go on. I haven't seen him recently.
Won monthly competition so far this year, right? Doing that.
I don't know what level he's at now, but I do know that Wizzy was at a very high level last week. And from what I've I don't remember where I saw him say it, but I saw him say something on the lines of, because of last week, I didn't need to practice much for the start of this week. So I feel like he's probably going to be getting back into the swing of things the more the competition goes on. So yeah, that's my prediction for this match.
Well, we will wait and see. We have got a little bit of time between now and then, and I will not subject everyone in the Twitch chat to more OC. So we will have to say goodbye for now. It's not goodbye forever. We will be back in just about 20 minutes, just less. Goodbye to Nua forever, actually. He's never coming back. And we are looking forward very much to this upper final.